welcome back to the next car review, and I bring you the German Grand Tour. This is the Mercedes AMG GT R, and it's one of my favorite sports cars of all time, let alone it's one of my favorite sports cars from Mercedes AMG, and I cannot wait to dive right in, and I am so excited to review this car to you guys because it is one of my favorite sports cars of all time. And I just want to say this, we're going to dive right in and give you all the information and everything you need to know about the Mercedes AMG GT R. It's fast, it's brutal, and it's really fun and technical, just like most Mercedes are. And we're going to get into the quirks and features, also the performance, the engine specs, and the practicality, which is the most, and including the car sound at the end of the car review. Now, before we do get into this car review, we reviewed the Cadillac ATS-V, which was the last video I uploaded. Make sure to go check that out if you're interested in Cadillacs or just sports cars, period. And then make sure you like and subscribe, share the video to your families, friends, or any car fans who are interested into cars like these. Let's go and get right into things. So, the AMG GT R is a track-focused version of the standard AMG GT, which means this is not your average day Mercedes. This is a track-focused version, which means that it is built to match with the Porsche 911 GT3 RS 4.0, the brand new one, and the Nissan GT-R R35 Nismo variant. This car is a track-focused version, and it is a track monster, which means it acts like a supercar because it has supercar numbers behind it. And the engine displacement is still the same, but the horsepower has been raised, it has more top speed, and the engine is more improved, and the handling is more precise than the regular AMG GTs. Now, a quick overview of the Mercedes AMG GT lineup. So the AMG GT came out in 2014, replacing the SLS AMG, which was the last naturally aspirated AMG. Then the second sports car AMG was the AMG GT, which only made 469 horsepower. And then the AMG GTS came out a year later, making about 515 horsepower, which had sport mode, that's why the S is in the name. Then you had GTC, which is the convertible version of the GTS that was released in 2016 to 2017. And then you had this, the AMG GTR, which is the track focused version. And then the racing version of the GTR, which is called the AMG GT4, that came out in 2017. Then the AMG GTR Roadster that was released in 2019. And then after that, the most powerful AMG of all, the AMG GT Black Series that was released in 2020 in July, that was released for the 2021 model year, which is very insane, and it produces more than 700 horsepower. We're going to get into that in the future, but for now, let's dive right in and review the AMG GTR. So let's start with the body features of the AMG GTR. So the AMG GTR was introduced at the Goodwood Festival of Speed on June 2016 as a 2017 model year. This car has a 4-liter twin turbocharged V8 that pumps out 577 horsepower to the rear wheels, and it can go from 0 to 60 in just 3.5 seconds, and it can reach to a top speed of 198 miles per hour. That's almost 200 miles per hour, matching the Nissan's GTR's R35's top speed and horsepower at the same time. And coincidence, they're both GTRs, except one has a dash and one doesn't. One has a space, and that's the Mercedes. The AMG GTR has 516 pound-feet of torque, and it can rev up to 6,250 RPM, which is brutal. This car sounds deep, brutal, angry, and it has a titanium exhaust, which makes this car sound better and louder and more aggressive than the AMG GTS. That's why I like this car. More than that, I love this car. Screw it. Anyways, when this car was launched in 2016 for the 2017 model year, the GTR had several cosmetic changes compared with a standard car, which means this car has vertical slats in the front grille. It had an adjustable carbon rear wing, new front air intakes, and new front and rear diffusers. The styling of the GTR is more comparable to that of the AMG GT3 race car. However, the base GT variant gained several of these cosmetic changes as part of the mid-facelift and the 2017 model year. Later that year in 2016, the AMG GTR went on sale in November, with deliveries beginning in 2017. And the additional fact of the AMG GTR is that it became a safety car in 2018 for the Formula 1 season, replacing the AMG GTS that was the pace car between 2015 and 2017, and before that was the SLS AMG. Now, the AMG GTR completed a lap of the Nürburgring Nordschleife track 7 minutes and 10 seconds, and in tested conducted by German magazine Sport Audio. Now, what I'm saying about, based on the numbers that we just said, that is supercar numbers, and that's just as supercar as the Camaro ZR1. The AMG GTR may be a supercar, but it's not a supercar. It's a sports car. It acts like a supercar because it acts fast, and it is fast. It may not accelerate quick as most of its mid-engine rivals, but it does deliver a less-worth combination of performance and thrill. Now let's dive inside the interior of the AMG GTR, and that's where practicality comes into play in the features. Alright, to slow things down a little bit, we are not going to get into too much detail into the interior due to the time limit. So now we dive right into the interior of the AMG GTR. So look at the interior. It looks really nice, does it? That's because that's how Mercedes look inside the interior. Most Mercedes almost have the same interior, but you see all this nice quality that is the interior. That's because it's a Mercedes. Mercedes is known for luxury, but they make one of the greatest sports cars, which means that Mercedes is really good combining luxury, performance, and thrill of speed into one. And the interior, the quality stuff is insane. Like, the buttons are not cheap. They feel really nice when you touch them, and they're polished as well. And also the dashboard has yellow stitching everywhere, including the steering wheel. You see that yellow stitch at the top, and then you have the seats that are yellow stitched as well, to give the car a beautiful touch for a racing purposes, and to make the car feel different than the regular AMG GT, and it is. Now, one feature I want to point out that sticks most of the obvious. Now, in the middle of the interior, so do you see that yellow dial in the middle? That's the traction control adjustment, which means you can adjust how much traction control you want when you driving on the road. So you might not want to use the traction control. That's because the car will take off and spin tires like crazy, like a jet machine. Because since this car goes from 0 to 60 in just in 3.5 seconds, the traction control will help. He or she can use the traction control to adjust how much traction you really want, especially if you're out on a racetrack. And that's basically what it's there for. You don't get that in the AMG GT or the GTS. And that's a cool feature. And the car has heated ventilated seats, and it only has 2 seats, and it has air conditioning as usual, and a tablet infotainment system. You get most of technology you do just like in almost every other Mercedes, but the difference is that this Mercedes AMG GTR is really meant for track purposes, but inside of the interior is that you get most of every technology you expect. But this is a 2-door coupe, which means it only has 2 seats, and the trunk space is small but is decent. It is big enough you can pretty much put enough stuff in the back of the trunk, which means that the trunk is connected to the seats, and you can actually see it when you're inside the car driving. All you got to do is turn your head around and you can see the trunk. It's very obvious. It's like a little hatch. But this car is not the S-Class, or is definitely not a Mercedes Maybach. And you're talking a couple $100,000 if you want to buy a Maybach or an S-Class, but it's well more worth it than just buying an AMG GTR. But the choice is in your hands, because I will definitely claim this car. It's one of the most beautiful sports cars of all time. And another thing I want to notice to you all is the infotainment system. It works properly and everything in here is solid. Now, if you go to the gauge cluster, I do love the instrumental cluster and the gauge cluster at the same time. Now, this car has two modes. It has comfort mode and it has race mode. And it does not have sport mode because this car is a GTR. Since it's a GTR, GTR means race. And if you want a more of a comfortable AMG GT, get a GTS or a GT. You can change modes in the instrumental cluster. In the gauge cluster, this is comfort mode that you're seeing right now, but it can do an animation of race mode. So if you want to put it into race mode, you will see the measurements of how fast you're going, the kilometers, and you will see the tire pressures, and you will also see the lap times as well. So if you want to record your lap time when you're going around the racetrack, that's what race mode looks like. But if you switch it to comfort mode, the gauge cluster changes to comfort mode, which means you will only see the speed and the RPM and how fast you're going. When I say speed, I mean speedometer. Sorry about that. And forgot to mention that this car has a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, which means you'll have to shift by using the wheel shift pedals behind the steering wheel. And the cabin inside the interior on the passenger side is pretty big. It's decent. It's not too big, but it's big enough to fit stuff in there. So let's exit the interior. That was a nice review of it. So now, the Mercedes AMG color. The green on this car is very unusual for AMG because Mercedes is known for coming out with cars with silver, white, and gray. But the green in this car is very exclusive and you will have to pay for it. And I'm not sure the exact price of the color, but it's very expensive just for the color. And the color is called the Green Hell Mango, which Mercedes named it to match the Nürburgring's nickname, the Green Hell. And I find this color one of the most beautiful colors of all time from Mercedes. That is a really good color, and it's not just any normal green. This is the special green called the Green Hell Mango, and I love this color. And that's what makes this car stick out than the rest of the AMGs. And that's just my claim, but I hope you agree with me too. And another thing I want to mention about this car is that when you go to the back, you can actually see the two exhaust mounted in the back, and you can also see the carbon wing, and you can see the aggressive rear fenders. The sound of the AMG GTR is very brutal. I love the sound of this car. It sounds loud. It sounds like it's ready to smash every single track day car on a track. It's ready to battle, and it sounds like pure muscle. Now, once we get into the car sound, I won't say a word. Okay, so let's get inside of the AMG GTR and let's start the engine. Put the keys into the ignition. Alright, enjoy it. Alright, that was the car sound of the AMG GTR, and that was the car review of the AMG GTR. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this car review. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to share this video to your family, to your friends, or anybody who is interested into cars like these. And then I'll be happy to make some more car reviews. See you guys next time. Stay safe and peace.